And I always try to seek common ground. And that's why this issue around, especially water and sanitation and climate justice, is so important to rural communities because oftentimes their voices are not heard. And it leads to a lot of the divisions that we're experiencing now. So being able to find common ground and to go into places, I live in a red state, but to go into places and people hear me because
And I'm so excited and honored to welcome Catherine Coleman Flowers today. Catherine, you are an incredible role model. You're an environmental and climate justice activist, bringing attention to the largely invisible problem of inadequate waste and water sanitation infrastructure in rural communities in America. You've dedicated your career to fighting for environmental justice, framing clean water and sanitation as a basic human right. You've done very moving testimonies to the U.S. Congress and the UN. You're the vice chair in the White House Environmental Justice Advisory Board. You've won the MacArthur Fellow for Environmental Health and Advocacy in 2020. You're a member of the Biden-Sanders Task Force on Climate Change. You've been awarded a Harvard Law Horizon Award for Environmental Policy Contributions in 2022. You're an honorary doctorate in science at the Wesleyan University. You're a founding director of the Center for Rural Enterprise and Environmental Justice. You're a practitioner in residence at the Nicholas School of Environment at Duke University. You're a co-chair at the American Academy of Arts and Sciences Commission on Accelerating Climate Action. And you're a very accomplished speaker and author of Waste, One Woman's Fight Against America's Dirty Secret. That is a really long CV. You've done so many important things. You do the Fire Drill Fridays with incredible other role models such as Jane Fonda. So it's overwhelming to just read your CV. Tell us a little bit in your own words what you're doing now and what your journey looked like to get to this point where you're such an important fighter for climate justice and climate action.
well, thank you. Sometimes, I have that imposter syndrome. So when I hear all this stuff, I wonder, who is that? But anyway, um, well, in terms of what I'm doing now, the Center for Rural Enterprise and Environmental Justice has relocated to Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama has the second largest research park in the country. It also has more scientists and engineers per square mile than probably anywhere else in the U.S. It's the home of the Marshall Space Flight Center.
Yeah.
And we, in our quest to find infrastructure that works, because as climate change gets worse, we're seeing infrastructure failures, not just in rural communities, but also in urban communities. So we decided to relocate to Huntsville. Our work still exists in rural communities. We still have a presence there, but we're also working on innovation. Instead of waiting for someone to invent what is needed to adequately treat wastewater, we want to work on that ourselves. And we've actually, through the center, we've launched a climate and water and sanitation innovation center. And at the center, we plan to partner with people like the folk here at NASA who have learned how to take urine and turn it into drinking water. And we feel that this is what we're going to have to do to get ahead of this because water is life. Water is essential to everything that we are about. And sanitation, the way we treat sanitation determines whether or not we're healthy. And this is the quest of our organization now is we've added to everything that we do is to work on sanitation and innovation. And we've actually, we're working to get fellows. We're going to have 4 fellows that will be working on carbon removal,
Mhm.
which is also essential to climate justice. We're going to be working on electrification. which is essential to climate justice because we're going to have to eventually transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And of course, we have a lot of the communities don't have help with development. So we're going to have a development fellow where we can provide some assistance to people that we're working with so they can go after, some of the benefits of IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, as well as the bipartisan infrastructure law. So that's where we are now. And what was the second part of that question?
And I'm
The beginning.
wondering, yeah, your journey, Catherine. It's a long journey. It's a fascinating journey. Tell us a little bit the main moments. When did you realize I really care about this particular thing? This is my purpose. And how can I make most difference?
I think the realization came when I was in Lowndes County working as an economic development coordinator, and I realized that people were being arrested because they did not have adequate sanitation.
Hmm.
And that was around 2002. And that's when I came to the realization that, and I saw we were having town hall meetings, and the people were so passionate about the experiences that they were having. They came to this meeting, actually this church where we had our very first meeting. We didn't know how many people would show up, but people showed up. I mean, before the meeting started, it was packed, and some people were coming from work. They still were covered with some that had worked outside, were still covered in dirt when they came there, and they talked about how hard it was and what they were dealing with. And and the passion that they exhibited just made me committed to finding a better way.
And you've done so much around that, Catherine. What is your main motivator now that you're, more than 2 decades into this journey? You've achieved so much. You're making a really big difference. What is your main motivation now going forwards?
One of the things I've learned in this journey, I've been able to connect a lot of what I'm doing to Indigenous wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I got the opportunity to go to Standing Rock,
Mm,
and it really solidified um my commitment to the seventh generation. And my motivation now is to make sure that everything that I do impacts the seventh generation in a positive way.
yeah.
So that's my motivation when I look at my grandchildren and the children to come, is that we have to leave them a world that's livable. And that's my motivation now.
Yeah. Catherine, what would you say are your top qualities? You're obviously a big visionary, you're an innovator, you're a real hustler. You've been at this and you have done so much. What top qualities would you say you have?
I think my top qualities are the ability to listen. I think that's very, very important as it relates to community engagement and making sure that voices and to uplift the voices of the voiceless, to make sure that their stories are told, to make sure people can see what they deal with every day. I think that, and then just being persistent,
Mm,
because when I first got started on this mission, I was told that this was not sexy, that nobody would be interested. And a lot of the same people that said that are the ones standing in line to get the money that has come about as a result of as a result of the work that we've done. So uh, I think those are two things: to be able to listen and to give voice to those people that generally don't have the opportunities that I've had, and also to be persistent.
Catherine, and what are you most proud of to date?
I'm proud of all the alliances that we have developed as a result, and the ability to do something that's uncommon today, which is to reach across uh, lines and political divisions and work together, finding common ground. And I always try to seek common ground. And that's why this issue around, especially water and sanitation and climate justice, is so important to rural communities because oftentimes their voices are not heard. And it leads to a lot of the divisions that we're experiencing now. So being able to find common ground and to go into places, I live in a red state, but to go into places and people hear me and I hear them, and to be able to have those discussions over something other than just football. I think because, this is a big football state. I'm in Alabama.
Yeah.
But but I think that when we talk about these issues, these are what they would have called bread and butter issues, but these are vital and essential issues that everyone has to deal with. And I think my biggest accomplishment is to be able to galvanize and bring together voices from different spectrums or perspectives who may not normally be in the room together.
Yeah, and it's really a problem that's across party lines, right? This is something that's a basic human right, which is what you've really been shouting out about for so long. Catherine, what would your top tips be for younger women who are in this world and really care about climate justice and want to make a difference?
My advice would be to find what you're passionate about. There's so much in terms of climate justice. I mean, it doesn't have to, I just chose water. I
Yeah,
mean, it actually chose me, but there are various aspects of it. It could be maternal health. It could be because a lot of places where there are climate events taking place, it's the women and children that are suffering, especially around the world.
yeah,
So find that aspect that you are passionate about, and then find which actions you can take. And there are organizations that provide a lot of guidance on where uh, you could potentially fit in. And if, I would advise them to look at my bio and look at the organizations that I'm associated with. If you don't have an organization that you're already associated or affiliated with, the organizations where I serve on the board would be good places for you to start and get involved in climate action and look around your own communities and see what's happening there.
mm,
And you can start as simple as writing op-eds,
yeah.
and informing people about the issues that are happening. Those are just some of the things that you can do. But my advice is whatever you're passionate about, that's where you go and get involved.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. And what are your plans and goals? Is there what are the next few years looking like for you?
The next few years are, well, I'm actually writing a book that
Okay.
will be coming out in February of next year. And that book is going to talk about all of these different experiences. A lot of it will focus on climate justice and talk about my own experience, the things that I did not cover in waste. And it's a book of essays um, that talks about different aspects of climate, of the climate fight and the struggles globally. In addition to that, I will continue to speak to young people around the country. I love doing that. It gives me life. Um, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce in the next 2 or 3 years that we've come up with with the concept, or at least created something that can treat wastewater and sanitation better than what we have right now.
Yeah. That's amazing, Catherine. I'm wondering, who are your role models? Who are the people who inspired you and motivated you on your journey?
Well, besides my parents, Maddie and JC Coleman, who have passed on, I'm also inspired by people like Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
I mean, who continues to fight, who lets me know that, I don't have to stop because I'm in my 60s. And people like Kat Taylor, who also who could really lead a different type of life, but who is trying to make sure that, again, that there's a livable planet, because one of the things we all have in common that we're grandparents. And I'm also inspired by all these young people that are out there. Some of them I don't even know their names, but to see how passionate they are about climate change and climate justice and making sure that we build a resilient and sustainable planet. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration from.
Catherine, I'm so grateful you took the time to tell your story to our listeners, for being such an amazing role model, for having affected so much change and continuously doing so, and for your incredible level of service that the world needs more of. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me.